Hey, what's good, y'all? It's X again, and I want to talk about why the Wizards are actually bad this year. Going into the year, I did predict the Wizards being a playoff team. I predicted them as the 6th seed, and Russ was going to be back to his old OKC stuff, and now that he has a guy like Bradley Beal on his side, but they are actually garbage this year. And to make matters worse, Bradley Beal is leading the NBA in scoring with around 35 points a game, bro. The Wizards are currently 3-12 right now on a 4-game losing streak with their most recent loss to the Atlanta Hawks, with Beal going off. So I guess y'all can say that this is my follow-up vid to the Russell Westbrook John Wall trade video I made a couple months ago. So let's talk about why the Wizards are actually bad this year. To start off, Russell Westbrook has been so horrible this year, bro. In the 9 games he's played, he's averaged 18.1, 10 assists, along with 9.7 rebounds, which is nearly a triple-double, similar to the ones he had in his last 3 seasons with Oklahoma City. However, he's shooting atrocious from the free throw line, atrocious from 3, and atrocious from his actual field goal percentage. 37, 30, 61. On top of all that, there was this meme on NBA Twitter where he has 163 field goal attempts to get 163 points. So him playing probably his worst basketball of his career doesn't help, and it also doesn't help that he has a career high in turnovers, which is about 5.2 a game. Now, I'm not saying all the problems with the Wizards are Russell Westbrook's fault, because I am a fan of him. I've been a fan of him ever since I got into the NBA. He is just one of the reasons why this team has not been playing well, is because he is not playing well. Now, I understand that during the restart, he had the virus, and he had a thigh injury which kept him out for, I think, the seeding games, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Russell Westbrook is going to have to sooner or later pick up the slack, because this team is not looking good right now. The second problem with this Wizards team is that this team is poorly constructed around both Bradley Beal and, to a certain extent, Russell Westbrook. They have Thomas Bryant, who is a good player, but unfortunately he's out with a torn ACL, I believe. It's either ACL or Achilles. You have Rui Hachimura, who is a good player with a lot of upside, who can be a two-way player in the near future. Davis Bertans is a lights-out shooter. Danny Avdija is a rookie with a lot of upside, and the rest are either just washed-up veterans or nobodies, except for Ish Smith, because Ish Smith is kind of like my spirit animal at this point. But nah, for real, if I'm being real with y'all, bro, this roster constructed around Bradley Beal and, to a certain extent, Russell Westbrook does not really fit Russ and Beal's respective timelines, because Russ is low-key starting to see the end of his prime, while Beal is already in his, or if not, he's starting to enter it. To keep this in perspective, bro, if Russ and Beal were surrounded with guys like Otto Porter Jr., Kelly Oubre, Marcin Gortat, Markieff Morris, you keep Ish Smith and Davis Bertans on the roster for the sake of needing a backup point guard and some shooting, I can guarantee you guys that this would be a top 4 team in the East. The problem is, Washington traded all those players, and now they have a younger core to work with between Denny and Rui, but they do not fit the timeline between Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. Now, the third problem is their horrible offensive system. To put this into perspective, I did point out in the John Wall trade that Russell Westbrook's former coach was Scott Brooks, and he is the coach for the Wizards. And back when Kevin Durant was with the Thunder, they looked like a dominant team in the West with their core of Westbrook, Durant, and Ibaka. And when they had James Harden, they made the NBA Finals and the Conference Finals within those 2 years that James Harden was with the Thunder. Then you follow it up with a 2013 elimination from the second round, but that was because Russell Westbrook was injured, so I guess no criticism there, but their offense heavily relied on Kevin Durant that series. And then the next season after, the Thunder looked like a legit contender for the NBA Finals, but once they got into the playoffs, they were basically in a dogfight throughout the whole playoffs. I mean, they had a 7-game series against the Grizzlies. They won Game 5 in the Clippers series, which they should have lost, and they blew a 23-point lead in Game 4 of that same series. And then once they passed the Clippers and had to face the San Antonio Spurs, Coach Pop basically outclassed and outcoached Scott Brooks at his own game. Some of y'all may be wondering, well, damn X, why are you bringing up these old games from 2013, 14? Well, the reason why is because it all falls on Scott Brooks, because as I was watching those games, it did not look pretty for Oklahoma City. They were in a dogfight in the first round against the Memphis Grizzlies, and I believe they were heavily favored in that series too. But specifically in the Clippers and Spurs series, with the games I watched, I rewatched the highlights, their offense was basically non-existent, meaning that they ran the same play over and over and over again, according to Bebo Breakdown at least. They ran the same pin down for KD, or Russ dribbles the clock out and forces up a bad shot, or Kevin Durant uses his offensive brilliance to hit probably the most difficult shots in the world. And that was the problem that everybody had with the 2020 LA Clippers, where they basically allowed Lou Williams, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George to take the ball in their hands and to take the tough shots, basically play hero ball. It was basically the same thing with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. Scott Brooks did not have any offensive schematics that could have made both Oklahoma City and the Washington Wizards a much better team with the amount of talent they've had. But unfortunately, their offense is give Westbrook and Bradley Beal the ball and have everyone else be spot shooters, which is not bad if they had actual shooters that are like Davis Bertans, but the problem is Rui Hachimura is not that great of a three-point shooter, and Denny is more than just a spot-up shooter. Denny can hit threes, but he is a lot more than that. Denny is a very talented offensive player, but unfortunately Scott Brooks is using him as a spot-up 3-and-D guy because he has Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal on the team, and that is one of the reasons why they're not winning ball games. Because Scott Brooks' horrible offensive system, Westbrook playing like trash, the over-reliance on Bradley Beal, and then one more thing I want to talk about is their defense. The Wizards have been horrible defensively this year. Rui is not a defensive player yet. He's still young and he still needs time. Denny Avdia, he's not as great defensively. Davis Bertans can't defend. Ish Smith is okay. Bradley Beal is not the defender that he used to be because of his offensive talent. Russell Westbrook has always been a mediocre defender, and they do not have a defensive anchor down low. I mean, for God's sakes, they have Robin goddamn Lopez as their starting center now that Thomas Bryant is out. And they probably do have another center. I think it's Mo Wagner. But the thing is, I haven't seen him play too much. I don't know what his impact is defensively, but I can tell you he's probably not as good because he's kind of like a spot-up shooter too. Overall, man, this team is just not good. And I think Bradley Beal knows it too. Yo, the man was praying on the bench during a blowout loss after scoring 30. I think that was the game against Houston where he had like 34 or something. And then the dude scored 60 in a loss to the Sixers, bro. So as Kenny, King of the Fourth Quarter, would like to put it, Bradley Beal, it's okay to request a trade. Because let me put it this way for you guys. Even if Russ does catch fire and this team starts playing well, this is a fringe playoff team. Like, I had them being the 6th seed. Now I don't know if they're going to even make the 8th seed with this roster. And I know Bradley Beal does not watch my videos, but I can tell you that he's probably thinking, man, I'm tired of being in mediocrity, bro. I want to win now. I'm tired of playing like 35 plus minutes and dropping 30 every game just so I can keep my team in the game. And a lot of people are going to be blaming Russell Westbrook, which I understand. He is a catalyst to why the Wizards are playing so badly, but he is not the main reason that this Wizards team is playing so badly. Their defense is poor. Their offense is basically non-existent if Bradley Beal is not in the game. And their coach is not good anymore. He's only good if he has like 2 of the top 3 players in the league. If he had LeBron James, the Wizards would be a good team. If he had Kevin Durant, the Wizards would be a good team. If he had Kawhi Leonard, this Wizard team would be a good team. And if I'm this Wizard team, there's nothing much you can do except trade Russ and Bradley Beal, because you're not going to get a big-time player. You probably might not even get a good center. And let's face it, bro, nobody wants to come to Washington, D.C. Well, they probably might want to now because a certain someone is not holding up the office. But that's not the point. Even then, bro, this Wizard team is just not good anymore. Not what it used to be. And I think their fate was sealed after giving John Wall that massive contract. And then they underperformed in the regular season. They nearly forced a Game 7 against Toronto, but I don't know. Scott Brooks, not a good coach. This Wizard team, not a good team. And overall, just trade Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. I'm probably gonna make a follow-up video discussing what teams Bradley Beal could go to and how much he would fit those said teams. But I don't know. I'm out here, y'all. Deuces.